Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do kind of like a fun themed TBR vlog video. This idea came to me, this color palette TBR idea came to me when I'm like browsing through Instagram. I see so many Instagram accounts of people making like dupe palettes for like really popular or expensive eyeshadow palettes, or they'll do custom palettes inspired by pictures or color stories or whatever. So I wanted to do that for myself. So one day when I was really bored at the beginning of the month, I cataloged my entire eyeshadow collection. And this month for January, I wanted to give it a shot, and I randomized a couple of eyeshadows. I think I randomized 4 this month. And then I made a custom color story out of it. I'm wearing the custom palette today, and let me show you what it looks like. It looks like this. The 4 colors that I randomized were this blue one, this purple one, this kind of like purpley brown, and then this like deep like brown yellow color. And then I made this kind of color story out of it. I ended up going through my TBR and kind of picking out a handful of books that I thought really represented this color story the best and really fit this color story. These are the books that I ended up with. I picked up I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver, Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time, You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, Eat and Love Yourself by Sweeney Boo, and finally Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. I have already read all 5, but let me take you on a journey. Let's go back in time and see what my experience was reading all of these books. This is now my 3rd attempt trying to get the books from the library, but I got them. I couldn't even do a sit and record video in the library parking lot because I'm late for work. The plan today is to read while I'm like eating lunch. I'm gonna read like I was reading yesterday. I'm gonna read Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time. I'm already like 30 something pages in. I tried to read some yesterday, but it did not go well. It's a lot different than I thought it was. It's not, the first 25 pages were actually just comments from the writer, comments from the editor, talking about Two-Spirit and the background of Two-Spirit and colonialization on Indigenous people and Indigenous culture. What I found interesting is that they're calling it LGBTQ2, like the number 2. I'm assuming for Two-Spirit. So that was the first 25 pages, which is really not necessarily off-putting, but it definitely wasn't what I expected, because I thought we were just going to go straight into from the editor's note to the short stories. That was not the case. It's definitely reading, and even the first 1 or 2 stories felt a lot more like nonfiction than science fiction. So I'm a little apprehensive to finish them, but I want like a shorter anthology, a shorter story to kind of get me in the mood to reading. Hopefully I can speed through to, not actually speed, cops, if you're watching, FBI, if you're watching, I'm driving the legal speed limit. I'm not breaking any laws. Please don't pull me over. Second check-in, sorry if there's the lack of makeup, the darkness, I am in a parking lot. Last night, I ended up finishing Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time. Overall, I think I'd probably give it like 3.5 stars. It was okay. I liked the stories. I think I was just a little misled because I thought all of the stories were going to be like very heavy sci-fi. That's kind of what I expect. But these were just stories that happened to have LGBT Indigenous people, and then they would be like, oh, and like there are aliens, but like they're not part of the story, but like there are aliens. That's the element in some of the stories that like made it sci-fi. Like it was like a hint of like magic. So I think I was a little disappointed. I was a little let down by some of them. There were like 2 or 3 stories that were like spectacular, and I think those are the ones that really saved the book in the end. But I want to talk more about it in the wrap-up since I don't have the book with me. Today, since I finished that one, I want to get started on You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is the one that I'm most excited about. It's the one that I've heard most good things about. I actually don't know much about it. I know that it's got Black main character. I know that she's queer and she runs for prom queen. And I think maybe her ex or like the girl she likes also runs for prom queen. I don't know. It's YA. I think it's a little bit hard hitting, but mostly it's just like very cute romance, I think. So I'm very excited. Let's see how much I read today. I'll check in with you guys soon. We're back with the bad lighting. I think this is my third update, technically. Maybe my first update for You Should See Me in a Crown. I tried to film this before a few days ago. It's been several days since the last clip, but the check-in that I took it while I was driving in the car, and it was just so shaky, and I literally could not edit it, so I deleted it and am now refilming it. I am 172 or maybe even like 175 pages into You Should See Me in a Crown, and it's good, but it's definitely the first book that has made me realize what people mean by, like, when they say I'm not the intended audience for this. Like, it's cute. I'm predicting it's only gonna get like 3.5 stars because the writing's just not for me. Like, both, I'm not clicking with the writing, like the writing just isn't my style, but also it's not written for me. Like, it's about someone's walking by. The You Should See Me in a Crown is about a girl named Liz Leidy, and her scholarship to go to her dream school falls through, and now she's missing $10,000 to be able to afford to go to Pennington, like her dream college. But now her like dreams are crushed, she doesn't know what to do, and she gets the idea from her friends and her brother to run for prom queen, because the winner, whoever's crowned prom king and queen, each get $10,000 worth of scholarships. While she's running, Liz ends up catching feelings for a new girl, Mac, that's also running for court. It's written in the voice of, very aptly written in the voice of a 16-year-old girl, but I am no longer 16. It's written very juvenile, it's written like a teenager, and it's just really not sitting with me well. If my little sister came up to me and talked to me the way that, like, talked about school and about high school and college, the way that Liz is talking about herself, I'd grab her by her shoulders and just shake her and be like, baby, it's not that deep. Like, it's not that important. High school and college, it's not the end of your life. You know, it's not the most important part of your life. Some books, there are so many books set in high school that I can still read and still jive with, but like the way that she's written, the way that she's talking about her future, it just really doesn't sit well with me. And just the way right now, halfway through, that she's kind of like dealing with her issues and kind of having to like hide her relationship with Mac and hide the fact that she's queer, and she's not talking to her friends, like addressing the issues head on is really frustrating me. I don't love getting frustrated by main characters. Overall, like, I can both see why it's talked about so highly in terms of like what it's doing for representation, and the relationship is really cute. Like, there were some parts with Mac and Liz interacting that just made me like, that was cute. I think the writing's really juvenile, but probably if I was reading this at 14, 15, 16, 17, I would find her very relatable and I would like this book a lot more. Like, if I was younger, if I was my past self, I would probably love what's going on, but I just don't, unfortunately. Overall, I think I'm right, and that it'll probably only end up being like a 3.5, depending on how the rest of the book goes and how Liz kind of like handles everything. It's only 5 p.m. right now. The night is mine for the taking. Like, I could do anything. And this book is going really fast, so I'm thinking I could maybe finish it today if I really tried. Goodreads said I'm like 50-something% of the way, so I think I could probably do it today if I put my mind to it. Let's see how the rest of the night goes.
Editing Sandra here. I made a big whoopsie and I completely forgot to film my reaction or wrap up once I finished You Should See Me in a Crown. This next clip is actually going to be me after I started reading Pet.
We're almost at the end of, I'm eating popcorn, by the way. I'm almost done. Even though it's middle grade, the writing definitely makes it palatable to older audiences, and I think the message of the story is really important. Essentially, what the story is about a girl named Jam who's lives in a town called Lucille, and in Lucille, angels have rid the world of monsters. Monsters and monstrous things no longer exist in Lucille, but one day, and I actually haven't gotten to this part of the book yet, but one day, Jam's mother's painting essentially gets brought to life, and that thing is called Pet, and Pet is on the hunt for a monster or something monstrous that still lives in Lucille. So Jam and her best friend Redemption are trying to find this monster, but all of the adults in the town are in denial and say that monsters no longer exist. It seems like it's almost going to be metaphorical in a way, which I love. So this has the potential to be like a 4 or 5 star book. And then once I finish Pet, I still have to read Eat and Love Yourself and I Wish You All the Best. Pet is my priority, so we'll see how much I get done today. But tomorrow will be a strictly like reading, relaxing, and filming day. So that's everything that I have to do tomorrow. Let's see how much I get done.
I finished it. It's 2 a.m. Like, I don't have thoughts for it, but it's really good. Anyway, I need to lie down.
This one hit too close to home, you know. This cut the cameras, dead ass.
Last night, or technically I guess this morning, I finished Pet and Eat and Love Yourself. So I'm officially done with 4 of the 5 books that I wanted to read for this video. There's a ton of stuff that I have to do this morning. I still have to make breakfast. I have to read that full book if we can make it. Like, hopefully it's good enough that I actually want to keep going with it. But I also have to do a ton of laundry. I didn't put away a lot of the groceries that I bought yesterday, so I need to put those away. Lots of things to get done. I need to make breakfast first, and we'll see how the day goes. It needs to be productive. So the day kind of got away from me today. I got a terrible migraine today, so I literally just had to nap for most of the day. Like, I could not do anything productive. I did start I Wish You All the Best, but it feels so weird. Like, I feel so bad for this being like the final book and ending it on this note, but I'm 25 pages in and I know I don't want to continue this. Like, and I want to because it's such a unique story. Like, it's such a unique plot and like such niche representation that I think we're still getting into. Like, I think it's important for me to still read, but I think I will have to find another way or a different author, a different book to read non-binary rep from, because this writing I really dislike. I don't want to spend my time reading another 300 pages of it when I know, simply because of the writing, it's not going to get more than a 3 star. I know myself enough to know that the writing is really going to be a hindrance when it comes to my enjoyment of this book, and unfortunately I'm DNFing it. What a sad way to end the vlog. So as you saw, it didn't end the way I really wanted it to. I know that I didn't do a great job kind of summarizing all of these books as I was reading them. So I really wanted to kind of wrap everything up here at the end and kind of give you my final thoughts about everything. So the first book I ended up reading, as you saw, was Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time. So it is made up of 11 essays. So they all share the theme of all being
sci-fi in genre, in being written by and being about Indigenous people, and also having elements and representing LGBT2 people. Ultimately, I gave this, I'm just settling on a really even 3-star for this. The issue that I find myself having with so many anthologies is because I'm so picky about writing and how I want things to be written, as you saw with my experience with I Wish You All the Best, I find myself having such a hard time enjoying anthologies because I don't enjoy a lot of the writing of all of the authors. Unfortunately, there were just a lot more in here that fell very flat than there were stories that I really loved. It's just not what I expected. I didn't think that there was gonna be so much intro and so much nonfiction and history within this, and I thought it was just gonna be bam, like a short editor's intro, and then we were just gonna get hit with like hardcore sci-fi. So that was my bad. Like, that was my fault for having different expectations, and I guess like the wrong expectations for this book. Some of these were just really disappointing. The good thing is, though, that I probably would have given it 2-star had it not been for some of these stories that were just phenomenal. The segments that I really loved from here were actually Darcy Littlebadger's piece called Nele, as well as Imposter Syndrome by Mari Curisato. Imposter Syndrome was so sci-fi. It was what I wanted. And Darcy Littlebadger's Nele was so heartwarming. It was an exploration about a woman trying to like find her place and find her purpose and falling in love. So between the ones that I didn't love and the ones I did like, I'm just really satisfied with just giving it a very like run-of-the-mill 3 stars. The next book that I read was You Should See Him in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I was right, and I'm probably only giving this like an even 3-star. I don't think I would give it a 3.5, just because the writing is just not for me. It was funny enough, and it was really entertaining, and I loved the side characters so much that I had no problem finishing the whole story. I think Leah Johnson really knows how to write dialogue and really like understands her characters. But I think the flaw I had with this book is that, to me, the side characters and the background characters shined more brightly than the main character did. I wanted to hear more about Quinn and Robbie and Stone and Britt and Emmy. I thought these characters were so interesting and so rich, and I really hope that Leah Johnson ends up like writing something or doing something with those characters in the future, because she really knows how to write characters that feel alive, that feel unique and interesting, and every character is different. And that's what really pushed me through the book. Like, I found myself laughing at jokes that the grandpa said, and I found myself tearing up at Liz and her grandma's like heart to heart near the end of the book. This book needs to be read by people. Like, even though I didn't enjoy it, I can completely understand and see why so many people talk so highly of it. I would recommend this, even though I only gave it a 3-star. The next one that I read was Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. This book is so important. Like, I think this should be taught in schools. Like, I think people should read this, and people should really analyze this, because I think it's saying something so important. I'm not sure if I did a great job explaining this in the actual vlog, but with the author's intro and within the beginning of the story, they set up, and it is metaphoric in the sense that monsters and monstrous things are abuse and child abuse and racism and bigotry and homophobia and xenophobia and prejudice, and it is all of these hurtful, monstrous, evil thoughts in people that were eradicated. And people have this propaganda that they push in Lucille that monsters no longer exist. And Pet comes to life when the painting overhears the dad tell Jam to forget the monsters. And the whole point of this book is that you shouldn't forget, because forgetting allows these things to come back. Like, I got chills just saying that. Like, I thought the meaning and the takeaway from this book was so important. Everyone should read this because everyone needs to keep that in mind. That yes, while it is important to eradicate all these evil things, we need to remember that they exist, that they existed, and they can still exist even if they're deep within the shadows. I will give a warning that this book does talk about pedophilia and child abuse. It's not given in graphic detail. The characters make a point about not wanting to talk or discuss the details of what happened to the character that this is happening to. Anyway, yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars. If that wasn't clear, this was 5 stars. And next, within the same breath, I also read Eat and Love Yourself by Sweeney Boo. Eat and Love Yourself is a graphic novel about a 27-year-old named Mindy who is dealing with body dysmorphia and eating disorders and a lot of insecurity. And she ends up finding this chocolate and buying this chocolate that every piece that she eats lets her experience a past memory, and each one of those memories is kind of like a core memory about her insecurities and her eating disorder. Obviously, I was very distraught in the vlog. Some of the things that they said here and that Sweeney Boo kind of talked about hit way too close. It really unlocked some memories, and there were some specific lines that I remember just opening this up, reading the line, and then having to just close it and set it down for a second, because some of these things I've experienced or someone has said to me or something that I've thought about myself. My biggest complaint about this, while I found that I could relate to a lot of it, I wish it was longer. That's it. Like, that was the real reason that it's just a 3-star. Like, while I can relate to it so much, I feel like in terms of plot, it's pretty weak and a pretty big letdown. They could have said so much more and done so much more if they wrote more of it, you know? And the final book that I didn't end up reading, that I DNF'd, I just didn't like it. But it's probably just me. Like, it's probably just a me thing, because I checked the Goodreads page and it's got like 4-point-something stars. Like, people love this book. So I think it's just me and like my preference when it comes to writing. But man, I did not like it. It was not for me. I prefer a lot more description in my stories. I prefer a lot more action and a lot more liveliness within scenes. Mason Deaver writes in a way that's a little bit more dialogue focused. And so I was reading these 25 pages and there was no like internal monologue. There was no real description of movement within a scene. So I had a hard time visualizing where characters were and what they were doing. I was being told, not shown. And that's just not my preference when it comes to writing. This is still something I recommend, especially if you haven't read non-binary representation. There's not a lot of it yet, and this seems like it's really well loved. It might work for you, and you might learn a lot more about the non-binary experience than you do now, having not read it. So those were all the books that I read for this vlog, or 4 of the books that I read for this vlog. I think it looks pretty good. Can you see it? Can you see it? I think I did a good job. I'm hoping to be able to do this more often. Please, in the comments, let me know what you thought about this video. This is my first time attempting vlogs, so please let me know kind of what you prefer to see from vlogs. I know this was specifically like very like book focused, but I'm not sure what you guys prefer, if you guys prefer sticking specifically to books, or if you guys also like seeing more like life stuff interspersed as well. Let's just have a conversation in the comments. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.